Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room as we look back at another fantastic sporting weekend. Let's start, shall we, with the United Rugby Championship and the results of the weekend. But disappointing for the Stormers on Friday evening. Unfortunately for them, they were beaten by the Glasgow Warriors 36 points to 18. Really poor performance by the Stormers. They went away from home and handling error, mistakes galore. It really wasn't a very good performance by the Stormers at all, and John Dobson can back at a season of perhapses, maybes, and hopefully build on it for next year. Terrible start to the United Rugby Championship, a whole lot of losses in a row, and then some very good results leading into this match on Friday evening, and unfortunately then a really poor performance by the Stormers in the match against Glasgow Warriors. The other results, and we'll go through the matches after we've given you the results. The Bulls 42, Edinburgh 33, Leinster 33, Llanelli Scarlets 21, and Sharks and Munster drew 24 all. We'll delve into that game in a moment's time. But let's go back to results and the stories around those results. The Glasgow side, Jake White's Vodacom Bulls and John Plumtree's Hollywood Bets have ensured there'll be a local team in the Vodacom Rugby Championship for the fourth successive year. But the performance of the weekend was produced by a team coached by another South African. While the Bulls and Sharks did just enough, the Sharks in particular probably going further than what their coach was thinking about when on the eve of their quarterfinal against Munster, he said, any win will do just as long as we win. Well, little did he know how that game was going to turn out. And Franco Smith's Glasgow Warriors produced a statement performance in destroying the Stormers at the start of the weekend. The Stormers were woeful and way off kilter, and you can't lose 8 lineouts and miss 39 tackles and allow your opposition so much headway through your defensive line and expect to win. The Stormers never came close. And often when the Cape side loses, there's a bit of distortion on the final score, with the opposition drawing away late as the Stormers make mistakes in chasing a game. That's really what happened the last time Stormers were in Scotland when they lost 38-6 to Edinburgh last October, but it wasn't one of those games. Glasgow can play, and they might have lost to the Bulls subsequent to that to break their winning streak at home against South African teams, but that was while they were still in their post-Leinster hangover, meaning recovering psychologically from their 52-0 defeat to Leinster in the Investec Champions Cup quarter-finals. They're out of that hangover now, and Franco Smith managed to do what he tends to do and what his counterpart John Dobson failed to do, and get them to a different level at the start of the knockouts as to what they were operating on. They played with furious intensity because this is the stage of the season when you have to go up a level, and they have done so. Unfortunately, the Stormers just proved really good in the build-up at talking the talk, but certainly couldn't walk the walk on Friday night. So that's the Stormers gone, and the Sharks might also have championship quality too. Their performance against Munster wasn't necessarily good enough to send chills through Jake White and his Bulls team ahead of what will be an epic semi-final in front of what hopefully will be a full Loftus, but the manner in which they achieved it did. In the first half, it was the same old story for the Sharks. They played their third successive half without scoring a try. In fact, they didn't even score a point. But from around the half-hour mark, it was evident they were building themselves into their game and gaining momentum. When they took the lead in the 54th minute, it looked like they were taking control. But Munster is certainly aren't a team to be trifled with, and any win over them is something to celebrate. Struck back with 2 tries, with the visitors leading 21-10 with 16 minutes to go. It looked like the Sharks were done and dusted. And it would have turned out that way at some previous Sharks teams, but not this one. They fought back to a point where they should have won in normal time and were denied only by an excellent pressure kick from Conor Murray. They were dominant in extra time and should have won it then too. And if Plumtree has a concern, it was time spent in the opposition red zone across the 100 minutes without coming away with points. They'll have to do better than that at Loftus, but they were undeniable signs that the Sharks' attacking game is coming together now, and they will appreciate getting away from the Durban evening due to what should be perfect running conditions in Pretoria, where the altitude isn't quite the same factor as it is in the summer months. But what a dramatic end to the game in the end. It was the goal-kicking capabilities in a kickoff which featured 6 kicks from either side in what resembled a tennis tiebreaker. The Sharks will be better and stronger for their nerve-shattering experience they were put through and how hard the game was. Eben Etzebeth's shiner was signature of the battle scars on the night. While they had to play 100 minutes, which is never a good thing 7 days ahead of another playoff game, that is also territory that they've negotiated before. They played 100 minutes at Loftus in the Carling Currie Cup semi-final last September and won a tight fight against the Lions a week later. Will history repeat itself? That's not to denigrate the Bulls, who did well once they'd recovered from a poor start to win against Edinburgh with daylight on the scorecard. They came through a test of their temperaments when they were well down at one stage in the first half. They frankly looked no better than the Stormers did the night before, but then into the second half they did brilliantly and came through with a fantastic victory. The Bulls and Sharks provided some cracking games in recent times. They've usually been close, and Saturday will be no difference, but it's the Sharks who have the winning sequence against them that the Bulls have to break. There's plenty for both teams to play for, as Glasgow could well upset Leinster, who've never won a URC semi-final. Leaving Kings Park on Saturday, there was a sense from people who were bumped into in the car park that a dramatic finish to the game was a great way for the Sharks' home season to end. It might not be over. They could be back there in 2 weeks' time, depending on how the other results go. Of course, if they beat the Bulls and Leinster lose, then, of course, to Glasgow, it will be a semi-final in Durban. Otherwise, if Leinster lose to Glasgow and the Bulls beat the Sharks, it'll be a final at Loftus Versfeld. So the 2 games, both on Saturday, Leinster against the Glasgow Warriors and the Vodacom Bulls. Leinster against Glasgow Warriors and the Vodacom Bulls against the Hollywood Bets Sharks. So 4:45, the Leinster game, 6:15 in Pretoria between the Bulls and the Sharks. So that is your rugby done and dusted, and what an absolutely magnificent weekend it was. Pity about the Stormers from a South African point of view, but I guess there could only be one winner of that game, and it was always going to be Glasgow. They were just far too good for the Stormers. Right, let's go to tennis now, and it is the second week now of the French Open, and Carlos Alcaraz fought past American Ben Shelton in a tight 4-set match to reach the French Open quarterfinals, while Iga Swiatek staged a comeback to beat Elena Rybakina and keep her bid for a 4th straight title alive. The reigning champion Alcaraz clinched a 7-6, 6-3, 4-6, 6-4 victory after 3 hours and 19 minutes on Philippe Chatrier court at last, and booked an last 8 berth for a 4th in fact straight year. Alcaraz will take on Tommy Paul in the quarterfinals after the 12th seed saw off Australia's Alexei Poprin 6-3, 6-3 and 6-3. Lorenzo Moretti also did exceptionally well, continuing his rich vein of form with a 7-5, 3-6, 6-3, 6-2 victory over the 10th-seeded Holger Rune in the night session. American 13th-seed Ben Shelton deservedly got a set on the board to extend the match, but Alcaraz quickly bounced back in that one. The American 15th seed, who's also into the next round, Francis Tiafoe, he booked a place in his first ever French Open quarterfinal with a 6-3, 6-4, 7-6 win over the unseeded German Daniel Altmaier. A 4-time Roland Garros champion Iga Swiatek, who's been struggling to find her best form and has not reached the final since winning the title last year, was in serious trouble, strailing 2-love to Rybakina in the second set, but the 24-year-old dug deep to clinch a victory 1-6 and then 6-3, 7-5 to go through to the next round. Swiatek seeking to become the first woman to win 4 straight Roland Garros crowns since Suzanne Lenglen 102 years ago. The Pole next faces the Ukrainian Elina Svitolina, who knocked out 2024 losing finalist Jasmine Piolini in the last 8. Swiatek is on a 25-match winning streak at the French Open and boasts a remarkable 39-2 win-loss record in the tournament. Rybakina had won both of her previous career meetings with Swiatek on clay, and the Kazakh dominated the opening set, hammering 12 winners. Svitolina made the quarterfinals for the first time with a comeback 4-6, 7-6, 6-1 win over Piolini, saving 3 match points in a dramatic opening clash on court. Philippe Chatrier, the 5th seed, was 1 game away from defeat when trailing 5-4. The former world number 3 has never made a Roland Garros semi-final, will be bidding to reach a first Roland Garros semi-final when she faces Swiatek. And the Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen, the 3-time Grand Slam champion, reached her 10th successive final. That is Sabalenka, who's through to the next round over Amanda Anisimova. Zheng secured a quarterfinal place with a hard-fought 3-set victory over the 19th-seeded Russian Ludmila Samsonova. The Chinese 8th seed extended her winning streak at Roland Garros to 10 matches, winning 7-6, 1-6, 6-3 on court Suzanne Lenglen. And Yannick Sinner seeks to light up the night session tonight as the top seed clashes with Andrei Rublev, while Russian starlet Mira Andreeva will face the hard-hitting and ex-compatriot Daria Kasatkina for a place in the French Open quarterfinals. World number 2 Coco Gauff beats Ekaterina Alexandrova in the last 16 and 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic renews his rivalry later tonight with Cameron Norrie. Third seed Alexander Zverev and Jessica Pegula will also take to the court in fourth round action against Talon Grigspor and Luis Poisson. Italy's Sinner will look to continue his quest to make it 3 Grand Slam titles in a row when he takes on the Russian 17th seed Andrei Rublev. Right, let's move now on to golf news. And first, let's start with ladies golf. And Maya Stark won a tournament, has won tournaments around the world, but a professional victory in the United States eluded her. And now she's the U.S. Women's Open champion. Stark carded an even par 72 to win the second major of the year by 2 shots at the Erin Hills Golf and Country Club. The 25-year-old Swede led the championship by 1 stroke through 54 holes and outlasted world number 1 Nelly Korda, who got within a shot of the lead before petering out on the back 9. Brilliant performance there. Now, Spain's Miguel Angel Jimenez birdied the final hole of regulation play to force a playoff with Denmark's Soren Kjeldsen and Australia's Cameron Percy then birdied the same hole in the playoff to win the Principal Charity Classic at the Wyconda Club in Iowa. Jimenez, who shot 2 under 70, started the final round with a 2-shot lead. Kjeldsen was lodged 7 shots back, but the 50-year-old making his debut on the Champions Tour fired a bogey-free 63 to take the lead in the clubhouse. Kjeldsen, who had a 1-shot edge when Jimenez and Percy reached the 18th, a drivable par 4, but Jimenez and Percy lined their tee shots to the front of the green, then 2 putted for birdies and a 3-way playoff there. And former champion Kim A. Lim fired 6 birdies in a 4 under par 68 in her quest at the US Open, but just was not good enough. Now, as far as the other golf is concerned, it's Scotty Scheffler. He just doesn't stop, does he? He had another smooth round and won for the 3rd time in his last 4 tournaments, successfully defending his title at the Memorial Tournament with yesterday's 2 under par 70 in the final round at Muirfield Village Golf Club in Dublin, Ohio. 10 under par 278 for the tournament. Scheffler secured a 4-shot victory over Ben Griffin, the only other golfer to win a PGA Tour event. Scheffler has started in the past month. Scheffler hadn't won in 2025 until capturing the Byron Classic. He considered his hometown event in Dallas, Fort Worth area and followed that by claiming the PGA Championship. He won 7 times in 2024. Scheffler and Tiger Woods are the only back-to-back winners of the Memorial Tournament. Much like Saturday, Scheffler was content with pars as he played the front 9 in 1 under par with 8 pars, and he came through as victor there. So another great performance by the world number 1, and he is dominating the world of golf at the moment. As far as the other tournament at the weekend was concerned, it, of course, was the DP World Tour and the Gary and Vivian Player Challenge. It was Malcolm Marshall's playoff victory that he won there. The other golf results of the weekend around the world, just to remind you, Scotty Scheffler winning, Nicholas van Dellingshausen. It was very difficult to get his name on the leaderboard, but he's right up top there, winning the Austrian Alpine Open. That, of course, on the DP World Tour, winning that at 19 under par. Christopher Reiten and Marshall Schneider came joint second on 17 under par. And the Waterfall City Tournament that ended over the weekend, Juan Postigo, that, of course, is on the All Abilities Golf Tour, SADGA, the South African Disabled Golf Association. They played in the field ahead of the Sunshine Tour players. So that is your golf wrapped up for the weekend. You're listening to the edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. We'll have more for you after these. Hi, I'm Louis Karpas. Join me on the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room as we chat to the greatest ultramarathon runner of all time. Bruce Fordyce joins us on the program as we head towards this weekend's Comrades Marathon. That's Bruce Fordyce on the next edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. Join us then. Right, let's talk motorsport now, shall we? And it was Oscar Piastri's drive, exemplary calm and control in a torrid race yesterday at the Spanish Grand Prix to beat rival teammate Lando Norris. McLaren claiming a first Spanish Grand Prix victory since 2005 with a resounding 1-2 triumph. The 24-year-old Australian came home 2.4 seconds ahead of Norris to extend his lead in the Drivers' Championship to 10 points. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc finished third after a dramatic final round of the event. But the drama of the event once again centered around four-time champion Max Verstappen of Red Bull. He went for a three-stop strategy that resulted in him losing third place in the final laps before being handed a 10-second penalty for crashing into Mercedes' George Russell, who finished fourth. More on that in a moment. It was Piastri's fifth win of the season, the seventh win of his career, his eighth consecutive podium finish, a feat that has only been achieved before by three-time champion Ayrton Senna and seven-time champion Lewis Hamilton. Well done to Nico Hülkenberg. He was fifth from 15th on the grid for Sauber ahead of Hamilton in a Ferrari, Racing Bulls rookie Isaac Hadjar and Pierre Gasly of Alpine. Two-time champion and local hero Fernando Alonso finished ninth for Aston Martin, with Verstappen classified 10th. After his late incident, which prompted 2016 world champion Nico Rosberg to suggest he deserved to be black flagged disqualified. Yep, Verstappen. So let me tell you what happened. Max Verstappen clattered into a fresh controversy after stewards ruled he'd rammed rival George Russell in the closing laps of the Spanish Grand Prix. The incident happened shortly after racing restarted with 5 laps to go following a safety car. Verstappen immediately lost third to Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and then put him off the track as he tried to hold off Russell's Mercedes. Verstappen's Red Bull team then told the driver to hand the place back to Russell. The Dutchman appeared to do what he was told to do as he slowed down into turn 5 with 2 laps left, and then he speared into the Mercedes. Stewards handed him a 10-second penalty. He finished 10th. He said later that he was unhappy with the way Leclerc had passed him and Russell had tried to overtake. 2016 world champion Nico Rosberg told British broadcaster Sky that Verstappen should have been disqualified. It was an intentional retaliation. He waited for his opponent and then rammed into him. It is just unacceptable. After the race, Verstappen accused Leclerc of driving into him while overtaking and said Russell pushed him off the track, forcing him to take action. Verstappen didn't deny that his move on Russell, with whom he was involved in a war of words last season, was deliberate. He said, "Does it matter? I just prefer to speak about the race than just a single moment." Verstappen brushed aside talk of his defense of his driver's title. He says, "We way too slow to fight for the title. I think that was clear again today." Asked again whether his reputation has been tarnished by the collision and the penalty, he said, "Is it? Well, that's your opinion. We'll leave it there." Russell said Verstappen's move reminded him of video games. He said he was as surprised as you guys were. He's seen the maneuvers before in simulator games and in go-karting, but never in Formula One. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Max Verstappen, you know what? You are not bigger than Formula One, and you deserve to be sanctioned. I'm sorry, it's like a red card in football, whether you are the greatest player in the world or not. You cannot behave like that. You cannot. Well, they weren't doing 300 kilometers an hour going around the corner, but that's not the issue. The issue is that you cannot just drive into another car. I mean, if you do that on the road, it's an offense. It even find you getting into jail. I mean, I'm not saying go that far and put Verstappen in jail, but what I am saying is that he believes that he's bigger than the sport, and he's not. Formula One moves to Canada, and whether Max Verstappen is there or not, the race will go on. Millions of people around the world will be watching. And to be honest with you, the way he behaved will be better for the sport if he's not there and if he's taught a lesson. It's not the first time this has happened, and clearly not the second time either. And if it continues to happen, somebody's going to get hurt, and you're not going to wait until that happens before the FIA does something about it. I mean, a 10-second penalty really doesn't do much. He's completely unapologetic about the move, you know, and in some of the interviews afterwards, Verstappen told George Russell, next time bring tissues. I mean, seriously, you can't be doing this. it really is a situation that has to be sorted out. He was told by his team to give the place back. Give the place back. He's already lost out this season already by not listening to his team. And to be perfectly honest with you, he should be banned. That is my opinion. And whether that actually happens, whether the Formula One has got the you-know-what to actually take him on, and they need to, because to be honest with you, many things are getting out of hand in Formula One that they do take action on. You know, if you're a millimeter over the line, you get a 10-second penalty at the start of a race, and you only get a 10-second penalty if you drive intentionally into somebody. And they've got all the camera angles and everything that they can see that he actually did drive into George Russell. Lots of comments coming around the world from many fans. If you go onto social media, you'll read, and it's primarily that Max was wrong. And yeah, he certainly was. Right, let's finish tonight's episode on a brighter note. Not necessarily if you are a fan of Sundowns in South Africa, because unfortunately for them, they didn't manage to overturn the 1-1 draw back home, and they lost the tie 3-2 on aggregate. While Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso felt his side didn't play at the level they needed to secure the Champions League in Cairo last night, the Egyptian winners Pyramids fought for their lives and took a two-leg tie 3-2. Cardoso said after the game, the fact that we're not happy or that he's not happy doesn't mean that he's not proud of everything they did to get to the final, but at the same time, he thinks there was something missing for them to be at the level they needed to be to win the final last night. Now, that, of course, is Sundowns' story. What about the UEFA Champions League final? What a performance by Paris Saint-Germain. Their striker Ousmane Dembele is named Champions League Player of the Season by UEFA after his turnaround season ended with him playing a big role in his side, winning the competition for the first time. His teenage teammate Desiree Doué was named Champions League Young Player of the Season by the European Soccer's governing body. Dembele struggled early in the campaign. He was dropped by his coach Luis Enrique for a league phase game with Arsenal for disciplinary reasons, but the 28-year-old went on to score 8 Champions League goals after he switched to a more central role. While Dembele failed to find the net in PSG's 5-0 thrashing over Inter Milan in the final in Munich, he was singled out by his manager pre-performance, and he said he would give the Ballon d'Or to Mr. Ousmane Dembele. The way he defended on the night, just that alone could be worth the Ballon d'Or, and that's how you lead a team. Goals, trophies, leadership, defense, and pressing. The team of the year, as well as everything else going around the Champions League, unfortunately sparked wild celebrations in the French capital, but 300 arrests were made. There were riots all over the place. 300 people detained, suspected of possessing fireworks, causing disorder. Police had to use water cannons to stop crowds reaching the Arc de Triomphe. Outside Paris, police said car careered into fans celebrating the win in Grenoble in southeast France, leaving 4 people injured, 2 of them seriously. Driver handed himself over to police and was placed under arrest. A source told the investigation it was believed that the driver had not acted intentionally. In Paris, most fans did show their joy by singing in the streets. Cars sounded their horns. Their team won the biggest prize in European club football for the first time in their history, but there was a lot of drama, a lot of rioting, a lot of fires being burnt all over the place, and an absolute disgrace by the PSG fans. Not the majority of them, by the minority, but that's the usual story. It is the minority who cause the worst scenes and get the most exposure, which the Paris Saint-Germain fans did indeed. Right, lastly but not least, we are drawing to the close of the IPL cricket season, and we are heading towards the World Test Championship. So the weekend results saw Thursday evening the Punjab Kings 101 all out. The Royal Challengers Bengaluru smashed them to win by 8 wickets, scoring 106 for 2. Friday, the eliminator between the Gujarat Titans and the Mumbai Indians. The Mumbai Indians winning by 20 runs, 228 for 5, with the Gujarat Titans 208 for 6, chasing that big score. And then qualifier 2 saw the Punjab Kings up against the Mumbai Indians. The Mumbai Indians 203 for 6. The Punjab Kings knocking those runs off with an over to spare, 207 for 5. Punjab Kings winning by 5 wickets, which leads us to the final of the competition tomorrow evening when the Royal Challengers Bengaluru take on the Punjab Kings. That should be an absolute crackerjack match to end the IPL competition. Besides that, tomorrow sees England play West Indies in the third one-day international. Then, of course, on Wednesday, it's the second ODI between the English women and the West Indian women. And then England A and India A clash. The England Lions, they play India A in a 4-day game on the Thursday. And then on Friday, it's England against the West Indies in the first T20 international. And then into the weekend we go. Just finally some other results from the weekend in the cricket. The England women winning by 108 runs over the West Indian women, and Pakistan and Bangladesh. Pakistan winning by 57 runs. That, of course, in a T20 international. And as I say, the World Test Championship coming up. The South Africans are on the plane. They've left South Africa and they're on their way to England. That is tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. More from us tomorrow evening. As always, be nice to each other and bye for now.